Yeah, as of Tuesday, I was actually surprised when I, saw the jump up in morning and then it kept going. Remember, we had these levels. This is part of our retracement analysis. So, as of last week, we were talking about, well, we got above this 100% level. That means that technically that's the end of this downtrend. We saw the downtrend officially end on October 27th. We saw this new uptrend begin on October 11th. But I got to caution everybody that we never really call a trend mature until we've got a couple of tests of support and a couple of tests of resistance. The more tests of support, more tests of resistance, the more that trend is then bought into by the masses of investors, right? And so we don't have that. This is just a solitary move from a bottom reversal. We haven't yet got a confirmation that the top reversal has had. So I'm very, very cautious to buy into that we've actually flipped. For me personally, I need to see a trend being mature and ideal. And so far, we're a little bit, for lack of a better word, premature in calling this. But this move is pretty strong. We bumped up higher than this $4,438.10. So I think there's a short duration positivity out there. I'm just cautious to call this a full on uptrend right now.
Yeah, and anybody that's new to trading or investing and that is looking at AJ's screen right here, you see that little the green arrow, or we did, which is AJ's custom indicator, and we haven't seen a reverse of that yet. And so, at least given your uh, parameters, it's still in an uptrend. I do have a question about the green area, right? So we got the green, we've got the red,
Hmm.
got the purple.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
what is the green area telling us from, like a high level perspective?
Yeah. So we call these different reversal to reversal moves. We call them either range expansion moves or range contraction moves, right? Expansion moves are whenever they're greater than 100% of the previous move. So you can see that here's that 100% line. If I go across the screen here, you see that lines up with the top of the previous move. So we went into a range expansion move the minute we went above that line. Now, going into the green zone is more of an ideal move. So the getting above 100% or below 100% kind of tells us whether or not we're biased to the bullish direction or biased to the bearish direction. But getting into this green zone for a range expansion means that that's kind of an ideal trend following. In other words, there's no question of, are we going into sideways channeling? This is definitely an expansion move that's buying into this uptrend thought. Now, again, I said that's not mature. In order for us to get a mature move, once we find our top and kind of stall out wherever we are, we would then retrace and we would want to see this contraction move come into the pink zone. Now, the pink zone isn't defined yet because we haven't found a top yet, but once we find the top, we'll be able to define where the next pink zone is. And that's where we would ideally want to see the contraction move go to before we expand again. So there's a lot of moving parts to call something a full on like bull channeling trend. And we're just not there yet. And I'm not really buying into the idea that that's it, any more than we're just in some excitement right now.
And with Thanksgiving coming next week, do you think that's going to have any effect on the move this week?
I mean, it could. The seasonality, remember Black Friday, although I've been seeing these Black Friday sales starting way before Black Friday. The whole history behind Black Friday is that the retailers out there in the world would be in the red all year. And it was on this Friday that follows Thanksgiving where a lot of people would go out and purchase, gifts for the winter holidays. It's on that Friday that finally for the year these retailers would be showing a profit. Now I'm not sure especially with electronic retailers and what's happened in just the last 10 to 15 years, kind of upending the whole retail market, if that's still the case. And so they use Black Friday kind of indiscriminately for any sale, and they've been starting as early as the beginning of November. But there's a seasonality for sure. W All the retailers have been reporting that discretionary spending is down, but I still think that folks, they like to have a good holiday season. So seeing an uptick, especially in the retailers, wouldn't be unexpected, but I think it might be, and we'll have to see. But from what I'm seeing, it might be a little muted this year.
For sure. And I have one follow-up question before we continue on with the show. And as a premium seller, right, your options trading strategy around selling premium, what does this recent move, how does that impact your perception of the
Mhm.
way that you sell premium in some of your positions?
That's a great question. So this, when we were, all the way from when did it start? It started on July 7th. And July 7th, we called a downturn. We had been in a nice uptrend up till then. July 7th, we called it a downturn. And it was on September 1st that we said, okay, this downtrend is not just kind of something we want to trade sideways choppy. It's something that really is taking up some speed. So when we have that sort of maturity and that sort of understanding of what the trend is doing, we can think farther out with our investments, especially our premium selling trades. So a lot of times we'll plan out these premium selling trades. We'll make one or two slight option adjustments every month, and these things will last ideally 5, 6, 7 months. When we have a transition like we've been having in the last couple of days and some unexpected moves, it kind of throws a wrench into our long-term planning. And so when we plan out our trades, a lot of times if we can plan out long terms, we can, really kind of uh, really believe in these long-term patterns and therefore make decisions. We'll often make decisions where we have smaller profits up front, but because we're planning on the longevity of the trade, we're going to get the bigger profits on the back end. When we have a shakeup, kind of a transition that again, it's not mature yet. We're not sure really if we want to base our next moves on a long-term uptrend or some size channeling. It just hasn't materialized yet. you know, Maybe we want to start thinking about our premium trades taking bigger profits up front instead of investing in the longevity of the trade. Because if the pattern knocks us out because we plan on one thing and the pattern does another thing, if we planned for a shorter trade, taking those profits up front, that kind of benefits us. So I've been telling my program participants, let's get a little bit more short-sighted for the next couple of weeks. Let's be a little bit more nimble, especially on any sort of exits that we need to do. Let's make sure if we're in the phase where we've got our protective options in place, let's get them in place. Because once those protective options are in place, we're good to go. So being a little bit more cautious on the risk side is where we are right now until the maturity in the next move establishes itself.